Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Because in China, they're already getting taught this. Primary school, remember, it was .com, test it out, .edu, usually trusted, .org, test it out, .gov, always safe. They're still teaching that nowadays. No. .gov? No. Exactly. The praise be to Allah tweet that he did the other day. Allah is God. There's nothing wrong with that. We're pointing at the hypocrisy because what the heck? Right.
Yeah.
What the heck? What someone on Twitter said, if
For
Obama
years.
had done that, five states would have seceded by nightfall. What the heck?
Bro. Crash Dummy still subbing in for Unc because he is taking a break. So I got my friend here, Ian. Ian, you want to introduce yourself? Let the people know what you do.
It's nice to meet y'all. Yeah, I'm Ian. I really don't do much of anything these days, to be honest with you. I'm still waiting for my next semester of college to start, but we are working on we made it a civil rights group, and we're just expanding it now, but adding more things from more people all over the place to help. It's called CINDR. It's the Civilian Intelligence National Directorate of Equitable Reporting. Bottom line up front, and just make sure that whatever intelligence is out there, whatever the truth is that intelligence gatherers and analysts and whatnot are getting, it's not filtered through any sort of bias like a politician anymore. It goes straight to the general public, right? And since that isn't the case right now, we're empowering people to find their own intelligence and do their own intelligence gathering with OSINT, which, as you know, is open source intelligence. So it's pretty cool. We're in the early stages, but we're getting there.
Yeah, that sounds like you getting there. That sounds like a lot of fun, honestly.
Absolutely.
All right.
More stress, but for sure.
Do you have a link for that?
Oh, I sure do. It's literally just cindernet.org. There's a good chance that Google will tell you that it's a dangerous site. And obviously there's, reasons for that are more censorship based, but give it a try, give it a look. The OSINT page, go to that and scroll down, and you should know everything you need to know for tier 0 collection at the minimum. So you're good to go. Go ahead and check it out if you want to.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of things, and I just want to grab your opinions on these real quick because we've been talking about them for the last couple of days. Crude oil prices internationally have just updated $114 a barrel. And they're saying that it's the worst economic crisis as far as petroleum products go since 2008. Do you see that just going up or going down in the near future based off of just general fuckery?
Honestly, it's going to go up, but as negotiations and as crosstalk increases and as diplomacy actually starts occurring, maybe it's going to start doing one of these, still trending upwards for the foreseeable future. Especially actually today you can start to smell burning oil in St. Petersburg in Russia from Ukraine bombing there. Yeah. So it's gonna continue to trend up, but because we're talking about oil. What is that? That's the three markets. You got the Middle East one, you've got the BRICS market, and you've got the West Texas one. And if you're having wars on all three of those fronts, because we're meddling in South America, we're meddling in the Middle East.
Again.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing we're doing all the stupid shit that we did for the last 80 years and just running it all at the same time.
Speed
All the
running it. Yeah.
playbooks.
What is it? The Philippines, they're getting hit badly, and to the point where Iran is in talks with them to help them out, because I'm fairly sure the Philippines had to transition to a 4-day work week because of the gas prices and whatnot. Like it's already affecting, which is again why people over here are so complacent, because it's really not affecting us. Unfortunately, when Trump spews that nonsense, he's kind of right. We don't get that much oil through the Strait of Hormuz. It's enough to raise our prices to what we've seen. It should be much worse. If we were in the same position as the Philippines or China or whatnot, people would be paying attention like they're paying attention over there. But
yeah, I don't think it'll really hit us until people start, until other markets internationally start coming to the United States for our oil specifically. And then as it drives our commodity prices up, then we might actually care. But we also still won't be as affected as, say, the Philippines.
That's assuming international markets come to us and don't try and either A, help the Middle East and then use the goodwill from that to tap their markets, or B, go back to Russia. Because remember, a good amount of Europe was bullied from getting oil and whatnot from Russia. They might just go right back.
Yeah, well, we did just lift sanctions on Russia and Iran, actually. Or I guess
it's gonna take a lot more for people over here to start paying attention. Because unfortunately, think about it. What? A McChicken used to be $1. We know this, right? We know this. Right now, if I go to McDonald's and ask for McChicken and they say anything above the number 3, I'm having an aneurysm, right? That's over triple. If people can stand their food that they now granted, that's just a fast food chain and inflation. When it comes to oil, like there's so many more things that require it. But if they can withstand like their food prices for some things doubling, tripling, quadrupling, there's not a lot that's going to catch their attention, especially when it comes to ignorance and racism that's also fueling some of this. Because on the surface, this whole conflict makes no sense. Right. This whole conflict makes no sense. And it's a bunch of different paradigms of allegiance. And those people where when they get proven wrong, or they'll say 2 + 2 = 5, and you look up on Google 2 + 2 = 4 and you show it to them, and they have the hardest time admitting that they're wrong.
They double down.
Oh my goodness. You almost
touching their ego.
Exactly.
It's touching their ego.
Almost all remaining, not all of those people are MAGA, but almost all of MAGA are those kinds of people. You feel me? So there's real, and then you have to add in the fear that comes from rightfully getting lambasted when you come out and say, "Hey, you guys, I was wrong. 2 + 2 = 4 after all. I was doubling down for years." But like, of course, we're going to come after you for that. Of course, we're going to come after you for that. But the fear that comes with that, obviously. So unfortunately, now you have to double down behind everything that you initially supported, which all conglomerates into this person, which is Donald Trump. Anything he likes, you have to justify or like defend. Exactly. The praise be to Allah tweet that he did the other day. Allah is God. There's nothing wrong with that. We're pointing at the hypocrisy, because what the heck? Right.
Yeah.
What someone on Twitter said, if Obama had done that, five states would have seceded by nightfall. What the heck?
Bro, absolutely fucking
exactly. But the thing is, because it's MAGA, now it's he was being ironic for this, or he was, and I don't know nor care what he was saying, because eventually we'll find out, or we might not, because he's a crazy man. But it's the excuse making. It's the excuse making that you have to focus in on. You have to see that they're going to do that for everything. everything, regardless of if the excuse makes sense or not.
It doesn't matter at this point. They've already locked in. They decided. It's a decision.
It does not matter. And it's that cognitive dissonance where and the best way I have to explain myself this stuff is in like medieval Game of Thrones terms. But if the king is crazy, that's one thing. But if all of like, the vassals who hold land here, and here are telling their subjects, yeah, the king's doing great, king's not crazy, right? They're not going to know. They're not going to know. And when it comes to these times, it's not that they won't know because they didn't have newspapers or cell phones and whatnot. And, someone's got to ride 4 days on a horse to tell you something. They don't know because it's an ecosystem of Fox News and this, that, and the third. And then if you're deep enough in these areas, if you get caught, you have to use that word, caught watching something like MSNBC or CNN, that's your reputation in that town.
Right. And that's it.
You're done for, right? It's like you found I don't even know what to compare it to. You're done for.
People come out in small towns as Democrats like they come out of the closet as LGBTQIA.
It's a dangerous proposition, like coming out as a Democrat. And I hesitate to say this, but coming out as a Democrat, or at least not full right-leaning, what have ye, in one of those areas, like it's a genuine danger to people's lives sometimes. Like it is.
Yeah.
So much stuff happens in those areas that we don't know about.
And they just keep themselves stuck in that vicious cycle too, because if you look at the people who are being affected the most by this economic issue, it's red states, like by far, just because they don't have the same social safety nets that other states do, and they've also been taught that they shouldn't, so they're not going to seek them.
That's where you have that slogan that they put out, especially with these oil prices and whatnot. Because before it was supposed to be, what was it? We're fixing the economy day one, and then it was war in Ukraine and Russia is going to be over day one, and this, that, the third, right? And now the slogan, what do they say all the time? They say short-term pain for long-term gain. That's what their little slogan is, right? And
Isn't that a Nazi slogan?
Listen, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. They're going around. If you can give something, A, it rhymes. B, it's 3 syllables, and 3, short-term pain, long-term gain. Easy to say. Give it to them. Toss it. Go around parroting it. Anyone says anything, you got a 6-syllable 3 and 3 rhyming thing to toss back at them. And that'll hold them for a couple months until we figure out something else, right? And unfortunately, you're seeing that on both sides, Democrat and Republican. The plans on both sides are to stall while we figure out what's all this then. Like Democrats, it's stall till November. Republicans, it's stall till I don't even know what. They need to, let me not say that. They need to stall for a long time. They're going to need to stall for a lot of time because
I wonder what they've been waiting on. I wonder if they were waiting on Trump to die or if they were waiting on like after the midterms.
If you're asking me, there's a bunch of different trigger points they could be waiting on. They could be waiting on Trump to pass because JD Vance has been awful quiet. They could be waiting on Trump to reach a state where they have to invoke the 25th, but not because of his mental state, but because he physically cannot. Like we're not even rolling him out in a wheelchair. Like, what's his face? He's out of commission. Like, he's dang near intubated. They're waiting on what's the next trigger. One of the fronts to have an update, either Ukraine and Russia update, which they would take credit for, Iran and Israel and us war crime spree update that we would take credit for. As you see, we're trying to take credit for literally everything under the sun that happens over there, except for the bad stuff.
Except for killing kids.
Yeah. China finally seeing, I don't even know what their trigger that they're waiting for is, and moving on Taiwan, either diplomatically or otherwise. Who else are we looking at? Possibly stuff with, oh my goodness. Cuba.
Israel is also snatching land for what? Hey, bro, you're gonna have to get off me. Sorry, that's my phone. Israel's also snatching land from Lebanon. If I'm being honest, I want to put on my conspiracy theory hat real quick, because I like diving into conspiracy theories and then trying to find my way out, if that makes sense. So I do not believe in, although I will say that I am a follower of Christ, I don't believe in a lot of the mythology in the Bible, right? So, meaning I don't believe in the, what is it, the rapture coming to take me away. I don't believe in the second coming of Jesus Christ to come and wash away our sins. But I do believe that if enough people believe in it and they move towards that direction, then there's no difference between that thing being true and that thing being fake. But, we're still going to do it anyways. So follow me on this. If I say a bunch of people believe in the second coming of Christ, and the only way to bring that about is to follow what the Bible says, or the Torah says, as far as trying to set the stage for Jesus Christ to come back. If they are going to follow the Bible anyways, why would we not have that as a playbook? Right? So what I think is happening in my conspiracy theory land is people have set up a land grab as a religious conspiracy theory. And there's almost a cultish mentality to bring that about in order to bring about the second coming of Christ. But the land grab is technically the point. But you have a bunch of people thinking that Jesus is going to come and prove the Jews or the Christians right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it sounds like low-key the plot of Fire Force, if we're being real. So what you're saying, which sounds about right, is whether it's true or not, right, or whether it's an actual prophecy or not, the things that happen in the rapture in regards to like Israel and like the surrounding countries and whatnot, if there's a group of people with military power who think that that will happen and are trying to do a self-fulfilling prophecy situation to ensure that that happens, that means that in some way, shape, or form, you know what they're going to try to attempt. Right.
Right.
The problem is, I feel like we're in one of those like Superman situations where it's like, for instance, if you suddenly like woke up with the powers of Superman, right? Like you were like, dang, nice. And someone tells you to do something, you're going to be like, or what? Right now, if you woke up and you heard that someone random woke up with the powers of Superman and you found out it wasn't you, you're gonna be like, oh no, because now you're hoping that person has some morality, right? Now you're hoping that that person's not, wasn't there on January 6th. You know what I mean? But when it comes to like superpowers of the world, like Israel and the US, I don't even know what's going on with Israel. Let's just stick with the US. The US, when they want something, unfortunately, does make right if people like might makes right in the end. Like it does. When in real life, if someone wants to do whatever they want, how do you stop them from doing that? What? You call the police. And if the police tell him to stop and he doesn't stop, what do the police do? They get physical with that person. It's the same thing with countries, right? If one country's doing something to another, first they're going to try diplomacy. If diplomacy doesn't work, either your country and all your people and you are going to be wiped out, or you've got to get in the paint, right? It's the same thing with the self-fulfilling prophecy thing. Like knowing what they're going to do is always good. Knowing what they're going to do or thinking that you know what they're going to do is dangerous, but it's always like a tool that you can use. But that's
not like
right.
But like you can get a gist of like the
right. Like eventually y'all are gonna do some nonsense like this. But it really doesn't do anything unless you have like the capability to stop that from happening, right? So we've got the United Nations who are squabbling amongst themselves on who can do the most nothing. And then you've got NATO, which is breaking apart at the seams. But it was just a matter of time until that happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, someone is going to have to either A, step up and do something about this, or B, it's really just going to get to the point where the United States is going to bully countries until it gets, a good enough deal. And then it's going to stop bullying them until it decides it wants to come around and start bullying them again.
Well, yeah, I think that's the point that we're at right now is we're done playing the game and we're just mask off. Because it's too hard to control this massive empire that you're running on propaganda and covert operations. So now we're just going to come in and take our shit that, we left there. And then everything around it.
If anything, it's really interesting to see because, Donald Trump has no military experience, no military. Just by the fact that Donald Trump doesn't like to read things, right? And he needs like picture brief, 1 page only. I know that's like the very limit of his military prowess, right?
Right.
It's honestly like kind of an advantage for the US, unfortunately, when they have Donald Trump saying stuff is going to happen, which essentially means that if he's saying that military stuff is going to happen, we know he doesn't know what he's talking about. And we know what usually happens is Donald Trump gets briefed on either what is going to happen or what has already happened, which means that he is in charge or he thinks he's in charge. Right. But exactly. When this thing goes even further left, if it can go any further left, you're going to see, officers getting fired. You're going to see someone having to walk the plank for that atrocity at the school. Not even counting the rest of the atrocities that happened after that.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to scapegoat Pete Hegseth.
Pete, listen, here's my thing, and here's what I'm thinking, because you have to think long term when I think about Pete Hegseth. You have to think long term, because in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, there would be a lot of very interested parties in having like a war crimes tribunal overseas for Peter, right? They'll be very interested, which means that, and you have to consider our relationships with our allies and whatnot are shot. They're done.
It's
You have
done.
to think about, yeah. So one day, Pete Hegseth is not going to be in government anymore. Like, that's just how it works. One day he's not going to be a government official. He's going to claw at it like his life depends on it. But one day he's not going to be anymore. And one day he's not going to be entitled to his security detail anymore. And so now you're going to have a lot of very interested foreign and domestic parties. I wonder what Pam Bondi is doing these days. Because do you know all the stuff that she probably knows about what Epstein was doing and whatnot? Do you know how many people are interested in hearing what she has to say, whether she wants to tell them or not? Likely a lot. Likely a lot. Some people, when it came to Nuremberg, people were getting dragged out of their houses with hoods and taken across country lines. Like, hey, here we are. Time to fess up.
I think a lot of those people are actually going to try to move to Israel after they've helped them colonize the area. If I'm being honest, that's why, I mean, that one I know sounds like conspiracy theory land, but
no, they did the same thing in World War II. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, they're clearing out all this land. They're rushing it. Like, you got to get it done before Trump starts getting impeached. They have all these deals. He's talking about the Riviera on the sea. Now they're taking more area for buffer zones, and then people are spinning up religious dogma about the old Judea, like, which just gives them reason to grab more land. And Pete Hegseth is in that. Like, most Zionists are Christian Zionists. Some people don't realize the Christians did this as like a little land grab, and now it's becoming successful, and now everyone's looking at it like, wait, why did we do that?
It's because of that one. It's a mixture of religious psychosis mixed with that one specific verse that they keep taking out of context. The Israel, those who bless you I will bless, and those who curse you I will curse. And I can't tell you how many times Ted Cruz loves him that verse. Ted Cruz loves him that verse. Oh my goodness.
It's funny how people love to take things out of context, or they don't read the context around that one little quote. Like, there's a whole book. I'm not saying it's all good, because that shit, I mean, you gotta parse through it. Some parts is baby, some parts is bathwater, you feel me? But in colonizing the different religions around the areas, they did have to mingle some of the old customs and like cultures into that book, which is why I like it from a historical standpoint. And then it's kind of just like, you can't take like a war god and like Christ, the Christ, and all of these other local cultures and put them in this one book and then come up with the same outcome if you read it. So you can pretty much just interpret whatever you want from these, because they're so contradictory. And the people who want to grab land know that they can spin up a bunch of religious like dogma around like this one single part in this book. And that's why they started teaching the white Christian kids down in the South that those who protect Israel get a spot in heaven, like their transactional heaven.
I know. It's the problem. The problem too is sometimes, especially when it comes to politicians who weaponize religion, sometimes, not even sometimes, a good amount of the time, they know that some of the stuff that they're referencing is out of context or completely made up in some instances. But what is it? People say like insanity is like trying the same thing over and over again. But I think insanity is like making up a lie and then falling for it yourself. right? That's what I think it is. And so when it comes to like religious psychosis and religious insanity, we're believing something that's not real. The problem is when it comes to like the vastness of the universe and whatnot, a lot of people end up thinking that's a higher power made this. But so if one of these religions has to be the real one, now we're gambling, right? Because you got Protestantism, you've got Catholicism, you've got oh my goodness, what other sects of Baptists,
the
Methodists,
Mormons,
so many different kinds of sects of this specific Abrahamic religion. And half of them are saying that the other half are messed up for what they're believing. Like, oh, you think babies can get baptized and go to heaven? What the heck is wrong with you? Like,
and all the Abrahamic religions have that same trait. There are a bunch of different interpretations of those religions. So, like, Islam has the same issue. Judaism has the same issue. And Christianity, obviously, there's so many different sects of Christianity that it'll, like, you get to the United States, and most people are like, I didn't even know all this existed. Like, yeah, they're on every street corner trying to hustle you some heaven.
So we're seeing once again, it's essentially the manifestation of what people. It's the manifestation of what far right people and right and maybe some leftists and people who just don't know what they're talking about imagine when they get the wrong view of Islam, right? That, oh, war hungry, running around, blowing up everything in sight. They blew the earth up. There's no more earth. I'm FaceTiming you as a ghost. Something, right? But now that false perception, we're seeing a very big section of Christianity, way bigger than I would have anticipated. And I hate being wrong. Way bigger than I would have anticipated. Once again,
my grandmother used to tell me, you hold up a finger at somebody, three of them pointed back at you.
Right back. Yup. War hungry once again. The problem is, if we, and here's my hot take, if you took the US, picked it up, and put it, boom, right in like the middle of maybe sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, who knows, right there. And let's say we still had our military and whatnot, so we're still all good to go military-wise, but now there's a big old USA in the middle of the Middle East. We would not be talking this hot. Obviously, because financial whatnot. Because remember, first off, it's always about the money. We don't care about nothing else. The money, the lives are second, third, fourth order of effects. So forget about that. But then once we get to the lives, then they would say, okay, wait a minute, hold on, because we're having this whole image of, oh, yay, crusades, this, that, and the third in our heads. But now that we actually have to get in the paint with more than just planes and our physical land borders are at risk, you see how crazy. You see how crazy they're going about immigration. They think an immigrant crawls over the border and everything turns. Can you imagine if there was the possibility of war at the border? Forget immigrants. Forget immigrants.
They would crumble.
They would lose their minds. Lose it. And God forbid, the people on the borders, the people knocking at the gates are brown people. Oh, God forbid. Why are we in this war? Let's leave our neighbors alone. They're talking about. Oh my goodness. But because Mexico has a very, very well-equipped military, right? If they wanted to, we could go word for word, bar for bar, artillery over the border.
Yeah.
The reason that they're not doing that is because once again, we get back to the bullying thing because we're like, oh yeah, do something. And so we're pushing you around. And you have the infrastructure and the time and maybe the political clout down like as President of Mexico to take it. But like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
All right. Time for the wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
You want to let's go over a situation and somebody's watching this video and they like what they're talking to you. They like what you're talking about. One, tell them where they can find you on the socials. And two, tell them how Cinder could be useful for them as it revolves to these conversations and topics that we've been discussing.
Oh my gosh. Social media, that should be Scorpio syzygy on like most of it. Syzygy, like when the planets line up. I love three body problem. That's the first time I saw that word. Cinder, yeah. So right now, if you ask yourself, like, what's going on overseas in the Middle East, as like an intelligence analyst, like, you're doing your whatnot, you go back to your tent or whatever the heck, or your sleeping bag. If you close your eyes and actually think about it, you should be able to imagine the map as you left it, right? The current state, if you cannot close your eyes and picture what is going on in like the Middle East right now, what did they say? What did they say? Wars have a really good way of teaching the American people geography, right? A really good way of doing that. Hop on Cinder, go to the OSINT page and start teaching yourself not only like the tools, because finding stuff is like important, obviously. Finding websites that you need to get to, finding imagery, because there's different companies that are suspending their imagery of Iran satellite until the war is over. They tried to do the same thing. Yeah, they tried to do the same thing in Palestine and whatnot. And there's people who don't know like that. Okay, that one company's not doing it. You have other companies that you can pull satellite imagery from. Like whether it's free or whether it's paid, you do not have to rely, because the news is going to say, oh, well, we can't see what's going on. But the White House did say, I don't care what the White House said. If in primary school, and this is an essential thing for primary school, because in China, they're already getting taught this. Primary school, remember, it was .com, test it out, .edu, usually trusted, .org, test it out, .gov, always safe. They're still teaching that nowadays. No. .gov? No. If you go to a .gov website, especially USA.gov website, and you look at anything involving a budget, involving death rates, involving crime rates, involving most of the stuff that our adjustments to infrastructure rely on, you're not going to get the real numbers. Especially back in the day, you might not have gotten the real numbers. That's what we need independent journalists for. Right. But nowadays, when independent journalists who actually show up to the place are starting to get pepper sprayed or starting to get bombed in the case of the Middle East and whatnot. Right. We need people who are able to do that journalism, but do it on their own time, educate themselves. Like if you don't know the true extent of how bad things are overseas, you're not going to be able to react accordingly. If you can close your eyes and like teleport to Palestine, the West Bank, Gaza right now, right? And you see what's going on, and then boom, immediately you teleport back and you're here. Imagine having that level of like knowledge as to what's going on. So you look at your friend who doesn't give a fuck about the next thing, and you look at your friend over here who's still complaining about something completely random, like the next 2K game getting delayed or some nonsense. You can tell them, hey, I need you to lock in. Right. I need if we all locked in for 5 seconds, if we all locked in for a weekend, we could have this done. Right. But the problem is education. People are going to war and committing war crimes in the military because they're not educated on what law. You're not educated on international law. You say Nuremberg to some of them. They don't know what that means. I remember sitting on a promotion board where someone was born after 9/11. And I was like, oh, because it was my first time, like, because you're seeing the generations move up, and that's fine. But with those generations moving up, the education, if anything, needs to increase because we're always supposed to be building on like what we had before. That's what happens with OSINT. So you have like me and like a few other people who just typed up this little page for Cinder. We're updating everything daily, not just the OSINT, but a bunch of different tools. Like it's a community thing. People make tools to track what's going on overseas, to track radio signals, to track different OSINT reports, to track where each like satellite is, to track what's going on with network traffic. Like you can find intelligence anywhere. Anything has intelligence value depending on what you're looking for and when and why, right? This website just not only teaches you how to do that, but plugs you in with other people who have already been doing that for a lot longer than me, a lot longer than like a lot of other people. And they've got that technical expertise to make those things that make this process where back in the day you needed a whole team to do this. Now you can do it with one or two people. But again, if it's everyone doing this, that's when you have Fox News. Imagine Fox News puts out an article and the whole entire country swats it down because they know it's not true, because they did their own research. Like that's the future that we need. If we're ever going to get out of this. So that's essentially what Cinder is.
Also, direct action means maybe you need to be throwing some dildos. I didn't say throwing, I'm sorry, holding, playing. The dildo distribution people. Yeah. You haven't seen them? Go to closertotheedge.com. I'm going to put the link in there that shows you the whole thing that they're doing. It's amazing. But they're using these, and they've got thousands of them now because they realize that they're so effective at warding off these ICE agents at Whipple in Minneapolis. And now around the nation, they're giving these away to people. They're passing them out because that absurdity in the face of this toxic masculinity seems to be the one thing that gets these ICE agents to back off. It actually works. So I want to help them get those donations for the thousands that they've bought. Also, the thousands were donated to them as well. But for the ones that they bought, they need to get that money back, and they need to keep this going because it's working. If nothing else, just to piss off those ICE agents. Email me, politicaldrain@proton.me. politicaldrain@proton.me. You email me, say, I want to donate, and I will give you the instructions on how to do so, because the time to fight is now.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.